Well, welcome to 44 and 1. This is our brand new podcast on GVizzle. We have Tempest with us, and we're just going to talk about some random shit
Yeah, sounds
today.
good.
We're going to start with the most random of shit, starting with the game. So I bought these cards after reading a couple of Chuck Klusterman, I hope that's how you pronounce it, books. And I got them and put them away, and they are hypothetical questions for insane conversations. So we are going to begin an insane conversation by choosing 3 random cards. I'll give you the topics on the back, and you tell me what we're talking about today.
Oh, it's
The
nerve-wracking.
moon fight. There's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
First podcast.
What do I
The
win?
moon fight.
Yeah.
Hired assassin. The brain pill.
See, I think hired assassin and brain pill sounds both potentially very interesting. I have no idea what moon fight could possibly entail. I think I'm going to go for brain pill just because I'm really into psychology, and we'll go see what happens.
Here we go. You are offered a brain pill. If you swallow this pill, you will become 10% more intelligent than you currently are, and you will be more adept at reading comprehension, logic, and critical thinking. However, to all other people you know and to all future people you meet, you will seem 20% less intelligent. In other words, they're already assuming you're 20% less intelligent. In other words, you will immediately become smarter, but the rest of the world will perceive you as dumber, and there is no way you can ever alter that perception. Do you take the pill?
I'd have to go with a hard yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
And I'll tell you for why. Because
Excellent.
yeah, I all through my childhood, I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't know what autism was. I was born in the 80s, early 80s, and we didn't know what autism was. I've always sounded a bit dumb to people, particularly at school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're okay sounding dumber.
Yeah. Because I'm naturalized to it anyway. And if I can get more intelligent, then I don't care about other people.
But then what are you going to do with it, right? Like, let's say you're 10% more intelligent and you come upon this like amazing scientific discovery, but no one believes you because they're like, all right, here's a cookie. You just go
Yeah.
take a nippy nap because they think you're an idiot. So like, how would you would be like stuck in this perpetual, like, it would feel like a perpetual motion machine of like trying to convince people you're really smart.
That's
And
my
they're
life.
like,
That's it all the time. I mean, for example, like the pandemic, okay, it's very big in people's minds. I've been trained in epidemiology, but most of my friends don't know that. So I'm on like Facebook going, oh, look at this. This is so silly. And then they're just like, well, what the fuck do you know? I'm like, well, let me show you my master's degree. Yeah, I do know stuff, you know.
You should get t-shirts printed.
Yeah, I know shit.
Yeah, I'm a smarty pants, motherfucker.
Yeah. And another thing was that because this isn't a sob story at all. I completely promise everyone that. I just find it really funny. I grew up working class, right? But I got a scholarship to go to a private school because we used to have, we used to have an assisted play scheme in our country where the government would pay for poor kids to go to private schools if you pass an entrance exam. And so I was this little working class kid surrounded by rich buggers, and I
feel like I watched that movie.
Yeah, exactly, a Slumdog Millionaire or something. And yeah, and so but there was always like a conversational difference between us, I think. And just like all of my prototypes that I'd learned as a kid were so different. I mean, I remember in one biology lesson, we do some dumb experiment. I cocked it up and I went, oh, for fuck's sake, really loudly. And then my teacher pulled me out of the class and she was like, oh, I bet you don't hear that kind of language at home. And I was like, my mum swears at me several times on a daily basis.
Where do you think I learned that?
Yeah. I didn't learn it from my friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that yeah, I mean, did it say anything about writing in there? Like, can I write differently?
reading comprehension, logic, and critical thinking.
Yeah, because
Although interestingly, it doesn't say, like, people will perceive you as dumber, but what about the output of your work? Like, if you were to document your thoughts, would they read it and be like, oh, the person who wrote this is pretty fucking smart? And they're like, I wrote it.
Yeah, look at me.
Right?
I'm like green.
A little bit of spittle coming.
Yeah.
I did that. So it doesn't say if the output of your work would be perceived as dumb. Like, you think you're like Goodwill Hunting, but really it's just like your handprints on the blackboard. look at this equation I solved, and it's like, that's a stick figure.
And there's just a smiley face at the end as the answer. Yeah. Well, yeah, because most of my work is based around writing, you know. So, you know, I've co-authored research papers and stuff. So, like, oh, look how awesome I am. You know, I could do all these things. But like, yeah. I need to shrink my head before I leave the room. But yeah, but yeah. So like, I had a supervisor once who said to me, she said, you sound really basic or something, but you write like the Queen. So when I talk, I sound dumb. This is basically what she was saying. But
in writing, you're pretty smart.
Yeah. If the Queen's smart though, I wasn't sure how. Oh God, I just broke everything on my desk.
That's like the female equivalent of you look better with makeup on.
Yeah, smile. You never know. It could happen.
Yeah, smile, you'll look prettier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would take it. And I think coming at it from a female perspective, right? Like, women are already having a hard time in the workplace, that it's a fight to even be perceived as intelligent as you are. And for people to think you were even dumber, that would be like, just take the notes, just take the minutes of the meeting. We'll be fine without you. So I don't know. And it reminds me of, did you ever watch this Twilight Zone?
I've only seen like one episode of the remake. I want to see it though. I need to see it.
You totally do. There's one episode where I think it was played by is it Burgess Meredith or Meredith Burgess, the like scrappy coach from Rocky. So he pretty much like hates people, and all he wants to do is be left alone to read. That's all he wants. The entire episode is him just trying to find a quiet place to read. And then all of a sudden, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I might fuck it up, but all of a sudden, like, everybody on the planet is gone except for him. So he is just like, fuck yeah, like, I finally get to go and just spend all my time reading. So he goes to the library, and as he's leaving the library, he trips on the stairs and drops his glasses, and his glasses break. And so now that he has what he wants, he's like sitting there with like his glasses poking a hole through the thing, like, and he can't read now. And I feel like that's what it would be like to be like that much smarter, but everyone thinks you're an idiot.
And of course, with this guy, he can't even read a book on how to operate the optician's machinery and make his own glasses. He can't even do that now.
No, can't see. And like, he's got like those thick, you can see into the future bottle, like Coke bottle glasses. And now he's hooped. That's it. Unless he teaches himself how to like read Braille.
And to go back to the point you made about being a woman as well, because that is stuff that, you know, I do see quite a lot anyway. I mean, I know sexism's less prevalent than it used to be, but it is still in the world. And
it's alive and well.
Yeah, exactly. Yay!
We did it.
Yeah. It's a tiny bit less prevalent than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, because obviously with these questions, we kind of look at it from our egocentric perspective. It's all about how would this affect me personally? And, you know, being a bloke, there is plenty of research on this, that being a man, I can blag it. Because did you know that there is research that shows that...
Are you blagging this right now?
No, I'm not. No, no, this is real. But it is about blagging. That when women and men go to apply for jobs, there is gender differences. This, you know, not all women and not all men do this, but most do. Which is, if a man sees a job, there's 10 requirements on there. it would be like, oh, I fulfill 3 or 4 requirements, but I'll apply anyway and I can blag the rest. But a woman is more likely to either not apply or be overly honest in her application and be like, well, I only fulfill 4 criteria, so I'll focus on those, rather than trying to blag the other criteria. That's even if she applies for the job. And then that's the male strategy, is to kind of blag it. And also have their blags believed.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because I mean, like, some people could get away with it and try to figure it out later, or get busted later, and they can't. Which I've had that scenario, not me personally, but I have like been in a scenario where someone's like, I'm a fucking wizard at Excel. And it's like, all right, make me a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And like, women are already, I mean, yeah, it is better than it was, and certainly, I mean, I wasn't in the workforce when women were new to the workforce, but I have experienced that, like, you're in a room full of people, you're all at the same level, and they're like looking for someone to take notes, and all eyes turn to like the women in the room. Like, oh yes, because we're natural secretaries. I got that. I'm like, start documenting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then to sit there and know in your balls that you're smarter than everybody in the room and they're treating you like an idiot would be so infuriating.
Yeah.
I mean, so mad.
And what I find interesting as well is the way that all the political infighting comes in an office, where the competent men might not necessarily challenge the incompetent men, the ones that are blagging, the ones that see a misogynist or a chauvinist, and then they'll just allow this person to continue propagating their craziness.
So I used to work in a I think I told you before, I used to work in a call center, and the company that I worked for, there was like a ton of different departments. So if somebody, and this, hopefully I'll remember how to bring this back full circle at the end, but if somebody was like a nightmare on your team, it was so hard to fire somebody with cause, because it was so much work. Like, if you had a team of 20 people reporting to you and you were trying to build a case against this one person to fire them, that was a shit ton of work to build that case and document everything and do that coaching. So you would encourage them to like apply for other jobs, and when other, like, for promotions essentially. And then when the other hiring manager would call you for a reference, because you wanted so badly to get this person off your team, they would be like, the sun shines out of their ass, there's nothing they can't do, just to get rid of them and make them someone else's problem. So this incompetent idiot, male or female, is getting promoted along the way just to like make them somebody else's nightmare. And I think that happens more often than not. Like, especially if you were the one who hired somebody or you vouch for somebody and they're shitting the bed, you're like, I'm gonna look bad if you look bad, so I've got to make sure that you look all right. That's why I never recommend anybody for anything.
It's best not to. It really is honestly best not to.
Yeah, I gotta focus on my own reputation and perceptions. You deal with you.
Exactly. I mean, because I have, like, when I was younger and more stupid, recommended people for jobs and stuff, or like said, you know, my mate might be able to do that, or encourage someone to apply, and I've dropped their name in to the boss or whatever, and then they go and make a complete shambles of it. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're making me look like a moron. You're making me look like I hang out with idiots.
I knew I shouldn't have promised you that when I was drunk. But
yeah, exactly. And that is what happens, is when you're drunk and then they get you in your weak spot.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh,
and then when you're sober, you forget that you made that promise, but they're on the phone being like, so are you gonna do this thing?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Hoping you forgot about that.
Well, there's this one guy I used to work with back in the job center days that I've mentioned previously to you, and I decided that, you know, I wanted to go off and do something different, so I quit the job. But then I recommended a mate to go for it because he really needed some work. Anyway, they were like, all right, well, you know, he was all right, so we might as well give his mate a chance. He had the interview, did okay, but then I didn't account for his poor hygiene, and it got so bad that I mean, this wasn't just like a guy that would shower once every other day or something like that. It was like he just wouldn't shower for like a week and go to work every day in the summer and walk to work and home. Yeah. And it was, and it was an open plan office. So he actually, his line manager and someone else had to pull him into a meeting to tell him about it. And they said, you know, we do have showers here if you need to use them and all this other stuff. We can help you if you have some issues. And he just shrugged it all off. He was like, no, I'm fine. You know, and then he ended up quitting the job because it was all like the victimhood thing.
Well,
Oh,
it's a very uncomfortable conversation to
yeah.
have. Like I've had to have that conversation with somebody and it's so uncomfortable.
Mm.
But I also like couldn't imagine being on the receiving end. Like, did he know that he was stanky, or was this like, what?
I don't
Really?
know. It's hard to know actually, because it was like a common thing that among our group of friends that this guy was a bit stinky. So like it's kind of like he did know, but also I just don't think he cared.
Huh. Because I mean, if you didn't know, I could imagine
Mm.
that being more mortifying.
Yeah.
You'd think that you're walking around fine and realize that you were olfactorily offensive.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you knew and they're telling you this, and you're like, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah. I love this.
We're all good. Take that.
Take my pheromones, people.
Yeah. Smell my musk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny because one of like I think it's linked to my autism, I don't know, but I have almost no sense of smell. So, and any smell is really basic, so I don't know if I smell. So I do have to check like with my partner and stuff, like do I smell okay? It's weird.
So that is linked to your autism, the sense of smell?
Maybe so. It with autism, like they find that there's correlations between either oversensitivity in one of your senses or undersensitivity in one of your senses.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. So I have almost zero sense of smell, but I have really good hearing. Like if my partner, like she's in another room on the phone, I can hear the person on the other end talking on the phone. Yeah. So like she's like 10, 12 feet away and I can hear what her dad's saying on the phone. It's weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so if not having a sense of smell, that must affect your sense of taste.
Yeah. So, everything just tastes like, I like really strong tastes. Like, you know, really strong garlicky things.
You would have to.
Yeah. I
so
mean,
like you would never know if you had COVID because you're already like, bah.
Exactly.
Everything already tastes like oatmeal.
Yeah, I've had to taste myself. I haven't had to taste myself. I've had to test myself at various points to make sure that I don't have it. You know.
I don't have the best sense of smell or taste, and I have always kind of chalked it up to because I smoked for a long time. Like I started smoking when I was 13, and I quit at 33. And I think like I always wanted those senses to come back, but they kind of haven't. Which is, I'm like the guy from the Twilight Zone because I love cooking, but I don't have the palate to be like, you know, like I watch all these cooking shows and they're like, oh, did you use like some random spice? And meanwhile, I could like douse something in cayenne pepper. I'm like, that's a little bit spicy. So yeah, it's like a sad point for me that I can't. I love to cook, but I can't.
Well, apparently that
flavors
could be
and stuff.
One of the things is in terms of the I don't know about the taste, but in terms of the sense of smell, your olfactory bulb, which is inside, like up your nose, up your sinuses. Not in your, no, sorry. It's like right inside your nose. I don't know why I'm showing you, poking myself in the face.
Get close.
Yeah. It's right here, look. I'll get my light. And then it has to be kind of put through its paces during your childhood. So you can assume up to about 21 that like the more that you experience the world and the more that you smell different things, your olfactory bulb develops in a more intricate way. And so if you've crushed it somehow or stopped it developing somehow, then that's something you'll never get back.
So my sense of smell sucks because I didn't travel enough as a kid.
Yeah. You had a sheltered childhood.
You know, I can see that happen because like my parents are like first generation immigrants from Portugal. So everything we cooked in the house was Portuguese, which all kind of has the similar like not flavor profile, but you know, same spices, same everything else. So like we weren't families to like go out to eat or try different foods. Like I didn't try asparagus until I was 21. Like when my mom introduced broccoli into our house, we were just like, what is this for in some sense?
It's like a tree.
So that, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
But it's also then it'd be compounded by the smoking as well then.
Yeah, I did start young, and like
Mm.
I started smoking young, but there was also smoking in my house because my dad smoked.
Yeah.
From my so my dad, so my parents were born in the Azores, which is just the archipelago off the coast of Portugal, and one of the islands there. And this was like my dad was born in 1937, so when he was about 8, so it was mid 40s. He used to get a lot of nosebleeds. So my grandmother took him by like boat to another island to go get him checked at the doctor. And the doctor's big advice was like, get him smoking because it'll restrict his, it'll constrict his blood vessels. So like he didn't know why it would stop. Like he didn't explain it to her that way, but his, if you want to stop nosebleeds, start smoking. So like my 8-year-old dad was like huffing butts. And it worked. It stopped his nosebleeds. Like he smoked for like 65 years after that. But
oh
it
my
worked.
god.
Yeah, that was his whole like how he started smoking story at 8.
Nowadays they just cauterize your nose. They melt all of your capillaries in your nose and it's sorted.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Blowing smoke, right?
Can you imagine seeing an 8-year-old?
And like it's probably considered child abuse by today's standards, but when I was like 8 or 9, my dad, when we were watching TV, he had this like cigarette making machine, the cigarette rolling machine, and he would like give me a tin of tobacco and his like papers, and I would sit there watching TV, like rolling his cigarettes on this machine.
Oh, cool.
Like a little assembly line.
Like it's one of those things where I don't know, people kind of judge stuff like that by modern day standards. But certainly when we were kids, that's quite a normal thing for a kid to do. And you're actually spending time with your family.
Yeah, we would sit and watch TV together. Like we used to, my dad used to make his own wine because we're Portuguese. So he would get the grapes and we'd all be in the garage, like cranking out the grapes and
cool.
Just doing that kind of thing. We'd make our sausages hanging in the basement. We were very stereotypical so cool. Portuguese way back in the day.
Yeah. That's so cool. Can you speak Portuguese?
Much anymore. I can't. I'm not. I can speak it, and I have basic reading comprehension, but I can't write it.
It sounds. So I remember when I first heard Portuguese, I just thought that doesn't. I was expecting it to sound more sort of like one of the other Latin languages, but I wasn't expecting it to sound, I guess, like so Slavic.
It depends on which dialect of Portuguese you speak. Like Brazilian, I guess it's Brazilian, but it's still basic Portuguese is very different than like mainland Portugal. And then each island in the Azores has its own distinct accent. Like you can tell where people are from based on their accent. And then there's like parts of Africa that still have a large Portuguese population. So it's depending on where you are. Like growing up, one of my best friends, her family was from the mainland, and like her mom would say basic words to me that I would use at home on a regular basis, but it was a different word. So I was just like, what are you asking me? Like, want to eat dinner with us? And I'm like, oh, yes, please. Like, we call it something different in my house.
And I guess I'd be like, English people speaking to Americans, we have some different. Yeah.
Or like like Parisian French versus Quebec French. And even into places of Quebec.
The French people I know wouldn't call it French in Canada.
My husband's family is from northern Quebec, and there's like kind of a mix of like lots of French words. When we first started dating, I was trying to impress him with my knowledge of French, and we saw like a truck go by, and I was like, camionnette. He went, truck. I was like, no. A French accent doesn't make you French. Like, no. Because it's just that we call it Frenglish. Like some people call it Frenglish because there's like that, or Franglais, which is like that mix of you just pick up little things along the way. And like even now, Portuguese, because my mom's been here for so long, like she still mixes English words in with Portuguese, and we do the same. If I can't think of the word in Portuguese, I'll just throw in the English one. And so we've come up with our own little Portuguese English hybrid.
That's so cool. Yeah, because
do you speak any other languages?
Not very well. I can speak a bit of German and a bit of Welsh. That's it. So I can. Have you heard of the long place name in Wales? It's there's a train station in Wales. Prepare myself. Llanfair Pysgwyn, Gichwgeru, Windrober, Llantysilio, Gogogoch. That's a train station. It's a shock.
I feel like by the time the conductor called the name of the station, it would already be gone. Like, like oh, that was
Yes.
messed up.
Yeah. Well, I've got a photo next to the actual train station name, like at the train station. You can go there and get your photo with it.
Does it translate to anything? Like, would there be an English
Yeah,
equivalent
I
of it?
forget what it is exactly, but it's something
Main
about
Street.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's about the location of a church. So it's to do with the Church of Saint Cecilio is by this place near a whirlpool and all this other stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And it
it's
was
like directions. Like if you pass McDonald's, you
basically,
pass the bar.
and the whole thing's a scam, by the way. It's a
What do you
whole,
mean?
yeah. So basically, the Welsh Tourist Board, there was another town that had a legit really long name. And then in Anglesey, they were like, oh, well, we want the tourism. So why don't we just rename this place? And then, yeah, I think it's like, I can't remember when they did it. Might have been the early 1900s. But then they changed it to Llanfair, etc.
It's like there's a place in British Columbia, and I don't know if this is true. So if any people from BC are watching this, you can call me a liar. But it's called the town's called White Rock, and like there's a huge white rock, and I always thought it was like they named the place after the town, but they just painted the rock.
Oh my
White.
God. What a scam.
Yeah, like well, that's not legit. Like
Yeah,
the place founded on a lie.
history it's just one big scam.
Really,
It's just tourist boards, making up
see,
lies
that's
to
why.
people.
That's why you can't be 10% smarter, because you'll know all these things and no one will
Yeah.
believe you.
And everybody will think I'm crazy. Like I had a funny one, like when I was at college. So college in the UK is 16 to 18. So it's like, I don't know what that would be in.
John.
Yeah, it's so you have college and then university, so they're different things.
Okay.
And I had an argument with a teacher and everyone else in the class because I said that the city of Portsmouth is on an island, okay, because it's on Portsea Island. And then nobody believed me. And I was like, there's a fucking river going through the top of Portsmouth. It separates everything. Where do you think that river goes? Like, and then no one believed me. And see, yeah, I'm used to people not thinking I'm smart. Exactly.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Neo. You'll never come back from the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's kind of true though, because I mean, you see it a lot in various aspects of society that if someone is trying to think how to word it, but like someone's too clever or too smart sounding or too obnoxious or pretentious, they have a very hard time convincing people that what they're saying is true. Like I'm trying to think of an example now. I did have one and I forgot it because I'm an idiot. I'm just dumb. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's have you ever been on Reddit? So there's a subreddit
Sometimes.
called I Am Very Smart, and it's like it's usually like screenshots where someone will say something, and then there's the smarty pants who comes in with like 3 paragraphs of text to explain to them why what they said is incorrect, and then they steal it and put it over to the I Am Very Smart, because there's always a really simple explanation for things.
Exactly.
It's like I think we talked about before, right? Like Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So if it takes you 3 paragraphs to explain something, you're just trying to show off at that point.
Yeah.
Like, look at all the big words I know versus just
I know clever things.
Yeah, let's just speak in everyday language and make sure everybody understands you.
Yeah. And because part of science communication is being able to speak it in common language that everyone understands. And I hate when people say, dumb it down and all that stuff. It's not about dumbing it down. It's about making the information palatable to people so that they can actually comprehend it. Because like one of the things I quite frequently forget is that I'm talking to people from like a whole foundation of knowledge that I have, that I've accrued over over a decade of working in psychology and mental health. And then when I'm trying to say this to other people, people often misconstrue what I'm saying, but it's because I've left out a key piece and I've assumed too much about what other people know, because I think it's obvious,
I think I've learned that one through, because I work in training. So I've spent my you know, the first chunk of my career in training was facilitating training. So we had to find like the simplest way to explain complex concepts and analogies. And like now I'm like a master at analogies. And then now that I write training, it's kind of like this, you write for like a grade 6 level,
Okay.
because that's where, you know, you can use the simplest language, you can use the simplest constructs to be able to explain something. So my entire career has been founded around finding the simplest way to articulate and explain things, which it doesn't make sense why I'm such a chatty fucking Kathy, because my job is to be economical with my words, and then outside of my job, I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
Well, the thing is, if you have to do something at work, you tend to not want to do it in your private life, do you? I mean, if you're a dishwasher at work, you don't want to wash dishes at home, you know?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine. I've always like heard those quotes of like, do what you love and like follow your passion. But then like at one point when your passion becomes your work, does it become, and maybe it's just me being fatalistic, does it become still as exciting? Like video game testers, right? Like if you love video games and then you get into video game testing, now your hobby has become your job and you have to look at everything from a different perspective. Does it still, is it still something you want to do on your downtime? Or would you still look at it with the lens of, oh, that's a mistake there, that's an error there, this is glitching here? Like I feel like you'd never be able to turn yourself off.
Yeah, that is certainly something I kind of experienced myself, I guess. Like at times my job involves a lot of reading, and so when I come home, my reading private time suffers, and I don't read as many fiction books as I want to read because I've been reading all day with my job. But yeah,
I think that's why I got so into audiobooks. I resisted for a long time because I felt like it was cheating. Like if I wasn't using my eyes somehow, I was cheating. But because I'm sitting in front of a computer all day and I'm writing all day and I'm staring at words all day, I wouldn't make the time at night to just look at more words. Whereas now with audiobooks, like constantly listening to audiobooks, I've gone through like hundreds of books since I started doing it. And now I'm like, this is amazing. This isn't cheating. This is great. The only time I read with my eyes is when I'm on vacation. I'm like, look at me.
I'm being clever.
Actually, my smarty hat on.
And I guess some of these books are at varying degrees of quality.
There's been a lot that I have, either the narrator makes such a big difference. Like I love, I'm going to butcher his last name. I love Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He wrote like Fight Club, and he narrated a couple of his books. He narrated Choke, and it's a great book, but his narration is so monotonous, and he did it intentionally, I think. That's the stuff you don't speak. But like it was so hard to listen to because there was zero inflection in his tone. And like the story would totally have called for it, but there was nothing. So I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get through it. I enjoyed the story, but I was like, oh, Chuck, come on, man, give it to me. And like there's some narrators, I would listen to them read the like ingredients off a cereal box. They'll read it to me. They're just so good. They make the story. But yeah, there's some books that I just get into. I'm like, oh, this is garbage. I gotta get rid of it.
Chuck, I don't know how to say his name either. Chuck Palahniuk or something. I don't know. But he's definitely one of those guys that kind of, he almost sacrifices people's enjoyment for his art, if that makes sense. Because like,
it totally does.
Have you read Trainspotted?
Yes, that's Irvin Welsh.
Oh, is it? Cut that bit out.
Look who took her smartphone today.
Do you know what? I've been going around my whole life thinking that was Chuck Palahniuk. Oh my God.
Welsh. Wait, he's also a phenomenal author. He wrote a book, which is, I have it on my bookshelf as you stare at the back of my head. Can't remember which one it was. I think it was called Filth. The book is written by this guy's tapeworm. So what? As you're reading it, like the page of text is cut off by like this shape, and then there's words in the shape, and that's his tapeworm is talking. So like you miss part of his story because you're only catching the first part and the end part of the sentences, but you're like listening to this tapeworm.
That's brilliant.
It is amazing. Like I love both of those authors.
I'm still shocked that I thought that Chuck wrote Trainspotting. How long have I thought that for?
Sorry to be the one to bring you down.
Oh my God.
Are you
Yeah,
thinking
maybe
about every conversation you've had now where you've referenced it and no one corrected you? Like, oh, poor simpleton. He does.
exactly. And the funny thing is, like, I think I need that pill to make me 10% smarter. I might remember stuff like this a bit better. Oh my god.
Well, you're a reader. You can't expect to remember everything.
The thing is, I've never read it.
You should. It's really good.
And if I'd actually fucking read it, I might have got the name right.
See, so you get a pass. You get a pass on that.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's and yeah, going back to the original question as well, like it's kind of made me think a bit as well about how often that we actually make ourselves sound dumber than we intend by not really thinking about how we're saying stuff. You know, how often do we come across as a bit thick?
Sadly, probably more often than we think. I think, especially since the pandemic, I find since I'm not being as social, I feel like I've lost some of my social skills and social graces.
Yeah.
So when I actually have to like communicate with people, I have forgotten how to do that in a way that's not transactional, because most of my conversations now are through work. So it's like we have an agenda, I say what you say. So like I'll run into people on the street and have like a conversation about our dogs or whatever. And as I'm walking away, the whole walk home, I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? Like what are they going to think of you now?
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's like when a server puts down your food and says, enjoy your meal. And you're like, you too. It's like, great. I'm going to think about that for the next 3 days. And like,
Yeah.
like you want to go back to that person and be like, hi, no, I am actually quite intelligent. Like, I'm pretty smart. I don't sound it, but I'm pretty smart.
Look all this stuff I do at work. I'm clever.
Ask me to spell something. I can spell like a motherfucker.
I could put a spelling bee against 12-year-olds.
I can't count for shit, but I can spell like a bastard.
What is there anything that springs to mind as like your worst, most embarrassing moment with a server in a restaurant or bar, where you've gone, what the fuck did you just say?
Nothing stands out, and I don't know if it's because I have a terrible memory or because I don't embarrass. But no, nothing stands out. Although my niece always accuses me of flirting. I'm an introvert. I can be very friendly, and I am very generous with compliments. So every time I'll go out and I'll notice something about somebody, I make a compliment about it, and my niece is like, "You're always flirting." I'm like, "I'm not." I just told her she had nice eyebrows. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
But so yeah, if I had an embarrassing moment, I'd probably try to cover it up with a compliment about distract you like magic. Look at my hands so you don't see what's happening.
Yeah, you could be a politician.
I'm great at bullshit. I really am.
You got nice shoes there, you know, just don't ask me about the economy.
I once, so my husband and I went to New York once, and the room at our hotel room was garbage. It was like the tiniest room. Probably can't like crawl over each other to get to the bathroom. So I was trying to sweet talk the concierge into giving us a better room, and I was asking her, you know, if would you be willing to take a look? And then I very genuinely was like, "Your eyebrows are amazing." She was like, "Thanks, I do them myself." And then she was like, "You got a room." I'm like, "Oh, nice, bitch." So compliments will
do that
there's
more
the
often.
potential to get you stuff. Yeah. You never know where it'll get you.
Yeah. I quite often get accused of flirting as well, and I just, because I'm nice to people, I just ask them how the day's going, or I smile, and they're like, "Yeah, but the waitress will think you're flirting with them." I'm like,
but isn't that sad though? Like,
yeah, why can't I just be nice to people?
And just like being genuinely friendly,
Yeah,
to come across as like, oh, you must have some sort of ulterior motive.
Exactly, and it makes me second guess myself. Like it's been said enough times that now I second guess myself.
That's not. Aw, that's too bad.
Yeah, so like I almost want to go, I'm not flirting with you. I'm not a creep. I'm just being pleasant, and I think you're a nice person. I don't ever say that.
There's a way. No, if you have to tell someone you're not a creep,
Yeah, yeah. Then you have to think maybe.
And it depends. I mean, it depends on how you're I mean, are you leaning like leaning into people in elevators and like, your hair smells nice? Like, that's creepy. But I mean,
Well, I can't tell them the hair smells nice because
well, because you can't smell.
you're such an ableist. Oh my god.
Oh shit. Canceled after our first episode.
Yeah. Well, like I could smell stuff, but like it would be to say if I was gonna compliment someone on their perfume, perfume always smells the same to me, which is generic flowers and generic alcohol. That's all I can smell from perfume. Just flowers
So
and
does it have to
alcohol.
be particularly strong? Like for
Yeah.
you to notice someone's perfume, would
Mm,
someone else be like, "Whew, they marinated in it," or would it
probably.
still be?
Yeah. Or freshly put on, you know, if like if my partner's just put her perfume on, then I can smell it. But it's only if I'm standing right next to her. And then it just smells of alcohol and flowers.
Oh,
Yeah. Which I feel sorry for her because then I can never actually say your perfume smells nice. Because if I say
no.
that, then she'll know I'm lying.
The White Rock all over again.
Exactly. I should work for the Welsh Tourist Board. Yeah, I think the dumbest thing I've ever said to a server was walked into a bar and all I wanted was, I think it was like a double JD and Coke. And then I was meant to say, no ice, please. And I said, oh, without sugar? What? No, without salt. Wait, what goes in a drink? No, no ice. I don't want any ice. That was the worst thing ever happened.
And then you were cut off immediately. I don't think
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really
that's
know
it. He
what
can't have
I'm
anything. He's clearly high.
like.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's just kind of like a sad thing in modern times that people think you're flirting if you're being nice. It's so weird.
I think everyone's always looking for an ulterior motive. Like I was on, as mentioned Reddit earlier, I was on another subreddit called Am I the Asshole? which is which is highly entertaining. And someone had asked, so the situation was this guy was out with a friend of his, and his friend brought his girlfriend, and the friend immediately started like making fun of the girlfriend. So he, the friend, stood up for the girlfriend. He'd never really met her before, didn't know her, but was just kind of like, dude, like that's your girlfriend. Like, stop being a dick.
Yeah.
And then the comments of the Am I the Asshole were people accusing him of flirting with the girlfriend or trying to get the girlfriend. He was like, I'm gay. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
there was nothing nefarious in my intent other than you shouldn't be treating somebody like shit
Yeah.
anywhere, much less in public. But yeah, he was accused over and over and over again of like, you're just flirting, you just want to get her. It's like, oh, why can't anybody just, yeah, just like turn that frown upside down, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of a half full perspective. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, because I quite often, like when you see comments about, you know, if somebody's kind of speaking out against something like that or relaying a story like that, the amount of pro-misogynistic or chauvinistic comments, like they're just in abundance. It's like you can't be nice to somebody without being called a cuck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you were, it's just, you just can't win. Like you can't win.
No.
And like I see it a lot in like some of the comments that I see on the videos on TikTok where it's like if you see a guy and he's better looking than you and has a girlfriend, then he's a dick and treats her like shit. He must.
Yeah.
But if you see a guy who is equally or less attractive than you and he has a girlfriend, he's a simp, right? Like it's never what can I do? It's always like that's a you problem, definitely not a me problem.
Yeah, yeah. And then they wonder why they're alone.
But I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
I'm a nice guy. Here's my club, and I'm going to beat you with it until you accept what I say.
Yeah. I'm a nice guy, you fucking bitch.
Yeah.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, you fucking whore. I'm a nice bloke.
I'm nice. God.
Oh man. What was this video podcast about again? I can't remember.
The brain pill. The brain pill. I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think we should do more of these in the future because I mean, for anybody listening, obviously, we've known each other what, like, for a total of about 3 hours in total.
Yeah.
And then we've got like nearly an hour of conversation out of one crazy question.
And it went in a lot of different directions that was unexpected.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how you edit this one.
I think the only thing I'm gonna edit out is me knocking my light off.
Don't, because eventually the dog's gonna bark and you're gonna see that face all over again. It's like,
Yes.
it's only a matter of time.
Oh my god, I laugh so much. This is the other thing about being autistic, I think, is that little things like that just make me way too happy.
It's the little things you have to find joy in. Big
Exactly.
things don't happen often. That's why they're called big things.
Yeah.
How do we sign off on this? Do we just like fade to black? Or
Yeah.